The gaming industry is having a problem right now. It just can't find men to play video games, which seems like an absurd problem because the majority of game players are men, but that is the specific thing that we're seeing across many industries where they're just asking the simple question, where are all the male customers? And I think that is a sentiment that we see here in this New York Times article, claiming that where have the men gone? Please come back. We need you. And of course, this is more in relation to dating in modern society, but I think this is a question that is being asked all throughout the industry as well, because we saw reports coming out from Morgan Stanley talking about the she economy that is going to be built where most consumers are going to be female oriented when male consumers will just evaporate and disappear from the environment in 10 years or so. And this is kind of the theory that they came up with, and it makes you wonder as a gamer, where's the market for gaming going to come from? It's going to still come from the predominant market, male gamers, which make up over 85% of the console and PC game players, even reaching peaks of 90%. So it's telling you that there is still a consumer market out there that's going to be majority male, but it seems like the developer themselves can't find the game players. They don't know where they are, and it's kind of obvious if you just look towards Eastern game developers, because Eastern game developers are still attracting that same demographic. The same can't be said for Western developers, because Western developers have strayed away from a lot of the iconic characters they produced in the past, and they have mostly focused on a philosophy that is anti-male. You can see this in their meetings, in their conferences, in the articles about what they want to do and develop the gaming industry into becoming. You see them specifically saying they don't want any white cisgender male as the focus of any production of video games. They don't want them to be the main characters. They don't want them to be peripheral in the development process. That is the stated goal at GDC, to reduce the white male gender count in the gaming industry itself. And I think when you have that goal in mind, where you want to fill up the ranks of people within the gaming industry that are not reflective of the customer base, have different aims politically, where they're talking about Marxism, socialism in design pattern for gaming. That's their main focus. They're talking about stripping away different tropes related to women in gaming and be more focused on their progressive gender racial ideals. They're talking about gender equity in the production of video games. These are their main focus. They want to make games about their personal political ideals and how they want to transform society. It's not about having fun. It's not about gameplay. It's not about characterization. It's not even about the story anymore. It's about you getting these political ideals and accepting them through the game that they produce. And I think that is the central difference that we've been seeing in the gaming market these past few years, where it's not about the game player anymore. And the game player has been excised out of the situation, and it's more about the politics of the people producing the games that are coming out. So when you see games that come out and appeal to the male demographic, like a lot of Eastern games, like a lot of games from China, Korea, Japan, that produce content that is oriented to the male demographic, the majority of gamers, you get a backlash from this group of people where they're coming out screaming, you gotta censor this. This is over objectification of women. This is evil. You need to reduce this. You need to do something that removes the male gaze from this property. And when they get that censorship, they ridicule you about it. They say, why are you angry that we changed this, that we censored this? Why do you care so much? When they were just screaming at you to change and censor this material. And it kind of brings up the cognitive dissonance that we see here, where we have some developers saying, where have the men gone in gaming? Why aren't they producing or buying our games? And why is that leading to massive layoffs? And that's what we get here with this Don't Nod game, Lost Records, where there's complaints within the article saying, what happened to the gamer base that actually supported the previous games that have come out for this developer? And it's leading to staff layoffs, it's leading to developers collapsing. And the question that is poised in this article is like, where are the male gamers at? Where are they? And why they're not out there to purchase these games? Because these games are failing. They're ruining lives. They're taking away jobs. And it's kind of plain to see that they're just not catering to the male fan base right now. This is a game that is oriented towards people that of the LGBTQ community. I know people are going to say Life is Strange was similar in that vein, and yes, it was, but it was still made with a unique storyline that captured your attention, where this is just plain flat, obvious political progressivism on display, and it's just, the gamers are tired of it. We've been inundated with it. This game is not too bad, but we're already at the breaking point where we just don't care about this content anymore, and I think that's the case for most male gamers right now. They're tired of the strategic push of pushing out any male content. We see this a lot of protagonists that have been put on display these past few years. Of course, there's still a lot of male protagonists, but the focus for a lot of these AAA developers is to bring in a female protagonist at all costs, even if it lowers the actual profitability of the game. And I think that's reflective of what we keep seeing nowadays, where they're not even trying to make a likable protagonist. They're trying to make a politically representative protagonist that represents their personal political objectives and ideals and goals. I think that's what we see with most of the protagonists that we see in 2025. Intergalactic, she has that non-male gaze-oriented look and perspective. We see this with the Fable characters. We see this with the relationships of all these characters for GTA 6, and we're not even too sure of that. All these characters are going to be LGBTQ oriented, and all these characters are going to have non-aesthetically pleasing looks, save for maybe one of them. And I think that's reflective of the current gaming market, where it is trying to push out this agenda regardless of anything related to the content of the games. And of course, we already had previous strong female characters. We already had these type of characters, but I think when they're made with neglect to the actual quality of the gameplay, the story, the characterization, and I think even more so, truly the gameplay, it's going to push away people that actually want to play games. And I think that's a sore spot that we're seeing right now, where the aesthetic appeal of these games are being stripped away for these gender neutral ideals that strip away the things that make things pleasant to look at in general. I think that is another core element that is leading to this pushing away of a lot of the male demographic, this urge to make everything extremely ugly because it's representative of their political ideals when it comes to body positivity and body equity, which sounds kind of odd, where everyone has to be equitably ugly in their own way. And I think that is a situation we see reflective in the politics of gaming currently, where it's about stripping away these things to make them in the socialist progressive ideal. And this is what we see with different views on women from people within the same development group. From a woman in the past, Amy Hennig, who worked on the Uncharted series, where she had the kind of structural ideal of what people would be attracted to play as. And we see the opposite with Neil Druckmann, where he goes out of his way to make everything subversive and unattractive. And I think that is the ideal that we see celebrated nowadays within the gaming industry. And this is a result of the ideological push that has captured the industry as a whole. And we see this marked out all throughout the industry itself. And I think that is bringing up those bad numbers that we see for a lot of games right now, where these developers are failing. They're not getting the numbers they want. A lot of titles are becoming billion-dollar disasters, $500 million disasters, like Concord. Concord famously known for terrible models of characters. And I think this is what we see as a trend throughout the industry. A lack of understanding of how to produce content for the demographic that are the majority of people playing video games. You can't avoid them like other sectors in the industry. And this is leading to a backlash within the industry, where they're going to have to lay off people. And this is exactly what we're seeing with RuneScape, where they're laying off people. They're backing out of their political celebrations and representative events. We see this happening with so much titles because it's just not representative of the game player base as a whole. It's representative of a small minority that are just more focused on political means. And I think this is the thing a lot of developers are going to have to face with. Are they going to stick to these political ideals, or are they going to make layoffs? And I think this is the thing that we see with a lot of game developers right now, with the massive layoffs for a lot of these studios, where they're laying off a lot of people that worked on these games, and the people that work on these games happen to be non-reflective of the gamer player base. When you have a majority LGBTQ representative feminine developer staff, which shouldn't be a problem if you're making a game for those group of people, but they're making Halo, you're gonna have problems. If this group of people are making Halo, you're not gonna get a good Halo game. And that's exactly what we've been seeing right now. We've been seeing game developers that just do not fit with the games that they're developing. They're not like the old school developers that actually love the game they're producing. They're here to change it to fit their own personal ideology, which shouldn't be a problem if they were making their own game that was in reflection of what they want to see in gaming. But no, they're taking Halo, they're taking Naughty Dog games, they're taking all these games that are just not representative of them. They're trying to force it in their representative box. And I think that's the thing that we keep seeing in the gaming industry, and that's leading to a lot of gamers just backing away. And I think another thing that is pushing up this surge of gamers just stepping away from a lot of these games that are coming out now is that these developers refuse to listen to them. They don't think they understand what is going on with the properties that they're making. We see this with the Dragon Age developers, where they're saying, we made the best game possible. We made a game that was diverse, focused on quirky dialogue and non-conflict personalities where everyone is happy together, and this is a Dragon Age world, and we talk about our gender, non-gendered issues. And this is just a situation with the Dragon Age game. If you do play it, it's never about that. It was always conflict in the parties. There was always a developing situation. People might betray you. It's all these elements in Dragon Age that had different cultures, different balances, and interactions with people that actually brought about an interesting story and fantasy world. And that was stripped away to be sensitive to people that do not want to have conflict, that do not want to have any sensitive storylines that harm their personal, emotional feelings about things. It became something non-offensive. And I think that is the biggest state of what Dragon Age was, where it's trying to be non-offensive to the political side of progressive ideals. Of course, it didn't care about the gamers that are on the conservative side, but it was just trying to be inoffensive to everyone that is within their own personal ideology, gender, racial issues. It was being so sensitive. And I think that is the thing that killed the Dragon Age series, where it was talking about dangerous topics. It was talking about the difference between different groups of people and how they interact and how they clash and how they betray each other. It had all these concepts, but those concepts had to be stripped away because the sensitivity of the developers themselves. And I think that is a situation that we're seeing where developers refuse to say they're making bad games. I think we see this with entertainment. I are hard to just blame people, say they're racist. They don't like it. It's not our product is bad, it's the customer that's bad. And I think that ideologies and clash with the gamer or player base that are just there to play high quality games. And that's what we're getting from other developers across the Eastern gaming world. But this is not reflective of the Western world. They do not have the male gamers anymore. All the male gamers have gone eastward. They're playing all these other games, contributing millions and millions of sales to those properties, while Western games tumble and close studios. And it's just showing that the audience is going in the direction of the people that cater to them. And it seems like a lot of Western studios refuse to do that. And I think that's where the men have gone. They've gone eastward and they're probably never coming back. That's just my 2 cents on the situation. Tell me what you think. Where have the men in gaming gone? I think they've gone eastward, but maybe you don't believe me. Maybe you think they're still out here in the West. I doubt it. You tell me what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.